Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know I am totally beating this topic to death, but I feel like it has opened up this conversation that I think we need to continue. And it is an important conversation because I feel like there's so many people my age, I'm going to be 59, that are either have really strong sentiments in agreeing with my viewpoint or have really strong sentiments opposing my viewpoint. And my viewpoint is how I have been the most happiest, and I have really come into myself and have really grown since I've made the decision to live alone. And I have not dated in over 10 years. And that is completely by choice. And that came as a result of being divorced twice. I know, not a proud, but I've been divorced twice. And it came out of a need for self-reflection, self-discovery, and really just learning who I am at my core, what makes me happy. And that I had to learn, it's all about perspective. And I had to learn that being alone does not necessarily mean being lonely, because in my second marriage, I was very, very lonely. And I now am in a place in my life where, after being on my own for the last 10 years, never feel lonely. And I think we also need to learn that the most important relationship that we can have is the relationship that we cultivate with ourselves. We are the most important relationship that we can have. And I remember back 10 years ago, just before my book was published, and it wasn't supposed to be a book. I started journaling after my divorce. I was really in a place that I was really lost. How did I get here? How did I get to this really dysfunctional relationship? How did I get to a place where I don't even know who I am anymore? How did I lose myself so much? And I know that a lot of us, especially women, do tend to lose ourselves in our relationships. We're nurturers. We tend to be people pleasers. We want everybody else to be happy. We put ourselves on the back burner. And I know that for me, and this, I come by it honestly because this is my mother as well, I just swept everything under the rug. I think cognitive dissonance was something that I really was going through during that marriage, and that, cognitive dissonance is when you have two opposing thoughts in your brain. So I knew that it was dysfunctional. I knew that I was not happy. I knew that it was just all kinds of wrong, all kinds of toxic. I knew I was on this endless roller coaster ride, yet I kept justifying it because the other side of my brain was saying that, okay, but you got to take the good with the bad, and not everybody is happy all the time, and you've got to, understand that the relationships, there's ups and downs. And so I had these really two opposing thoughts that I just kept me stuck for a long time. And until I made that decision, where I had my aha moment that I am in complete control of my happiness, nobody else is. Nobody's coming to your rescue. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to make you happy. And you can't look for others to feel fulfilled, and you can't look for others to feel happy. It really does come within. And when I learned that the strongest, the best, the most important relationship that I could have in my life was the relationship that I had with myself, until I understood that and became truly comfortable in my skin, which took a long time, and it took therapy, and it took a lot of listening to podcasts, reading books. It was a journey until I realized that I never really felt completely whole and completely at peace. What came as a result of that, of me really doing the work and being introspective, was that I gained this confidence and this aura of self-assurance and self-reliance that I never really had before. And so after I did that video last week of why I haven't dated in 10 years and why I've been the happiest, and that being alone does not mean that it's lonely, and that silence in my house doesn't equate to loneliness. It equates to peace and peacefulness. That video, I think, sparked a lot of people's reaction, good, well, positive and negative. I had a lot of comments saying that, or took it as me sort of bashing relationships. And I'm not here to bash relationships. In fact, I feel like at my age, approaching my golden years, and I know that the golden divorce is on the rise. So people 50 and older are divorcing. That is somewhere that I want to be right now, and that I feel really at peace with that decision. I feel like I'm now finally in a position where I've been on my own for so long that I can get into a relationship out of choice, not out of need or dependency. And so I went back through all my old journal that I wrote 10 years ago, which my journal ended up being my book. My book is Rising Up, Take Charge, Break the Cycle, and Rebuild a Kick-Ass Life. That's why my channel is Rebuilding a Kick-Ass Life. I went back through some of my notes, and it was really interesting to see how far I've come. I've talked about this before. I remember having this really irrational fear of financial destitution. This really irrational fear of feeling like I'm going to lose everything and lose my money and not able to make it on my own financially. And I can tell you that having been on my own for the last 10 years, I've never felt more empowered, more self-sufficient, more self-reliant, more capable of making choices and decisions that I feel good about. And that if I make a decision that is perhaps, I don't know, wrong or not the best choice, then that only falls on me. I don't have to worry about anyone saying to me, well, I told you so. And so there is something to be said about paying your own bills, and making your own decisions, fixing your own toilet, being completely self-reliant. That makes you feel so confident, so empowered, and it's really liberating. And now I'm in a position where I don't feel the need to have a partner. If and when a partner comes along, and I'm not really actively even looking, then I feel like I'm in a place where it would be by choice. It would be somebody that would enhance my life, not add to it, because I feel like I'm already completely whole on my own and quite happy. And so that's another thing, you guys, that, being on your own isn't about self-isolation or being antisocial, because that is not me. I have now had 10 years to build really meaningful relationships. I've had 10 years to really nurture my friendships and a community outside of a partnership or a spouse. And so I don't feel lonely. There's always someone that I can call, or there's always somebody that's ready to go out and have, get a coffee or travel. I have one friend who's also on her own and has been on her own for quite a while. We travel extensively, and we travel to really cool places. Like in the last year, we've been to Madagascar, Singapore, Malaysia, Borneo, and we just booked a trip to South Africa. And so that's my point. And my other point is, I had this irrational fear of being, destitute, and that didn't happen. We worry about so many things. I think there's a statistic that says that 90% of the things we worry about never actually come to fruition. And so we worry about so many things that actually never happen. And here I am 10 years later, and I've been fine. Now, for those of you that don't know, I came from a position or from a marriage that was very financially privileged. And I left all that behind. And when I say I left all that behind, it was a marriage where there was a Porsche, a BMW, or Mercedes. All my kids had cars. We had a lake house. We had a multi-million-dollar home. We had vacation properties in the States. I live in Canada. And I walked away from all of that with only enough money to just buy myself a very modest home. I used to have designer everything, designer clothes, Rolexes, diamonds. I no longer have any of that. And I can honestly tell you that I am not any actually, I'm happier than I was when I had all the stuff, when I had all the things. The things became something that temporarily filled the void. But when it came right down to it, I didn't feel like I had the love, the loyalty, the honesty, the mutual respect, or the safety. And those are the things that become really important and that are meaningful, not the stuff. And so by giving away the stuff or walking away from the stuff, I felt less burdened. I felt freer. And I can tell you guys that, again, listen, I know I have followers that are happily married and they have their best friend. And I am happy for those people that feel completely at peace and safe and loved and cherished and respected. And if you have that, you are so lucky. And I'm here to also speak on the behalf of the people that don't have that or have never been able to find it. You can feel just as fulfilled and just as happy and just as like you have a place in this world and in society without having, you know, what society says has been the norm for so long. And I am definitely in a place where I've just really come into my own. And I'm here to tell you that I've been on both sides of the fence. And again, I feel like I am beating a dead horse on this topic. But I've had people say to me that they actually don't believe that I truly am happy. Or they say that I'm just fooling myself. And you guys, I'm not. I'm not. And I want you to understand that if you are newly divorced and you are struggling with the fear of being alone, or you're struggling with just feeling like you don't fit in, that is perspective and that can change. And I jotted down some notes that I took from my journal. I don't know if these are helpful, but I remember, sorry, oh my goodness. Let me just take some drink of my coffee. Okay. Especially, I think I've talked about all this. The one thing I do want to reiterate is that I feel this way now, but I think that if I was in my 20s or in my 30s, then I might have a bigger desire to be in a partnership or to be married, because to me, one of the most important things of my life, one of my big goals, was to have children. And I have 3 children right now that are my life. And they're adults. My oldest is 34. He was on that show, The Bachelor. He's doing very well for himself. And then I have another son, Cody, who is, he's a pilot. And then I have a daughter who runs her own business. So that was really important to me. And I have to preface the whole thing of being, you know, divorced twice. The father of all 3 of my children was my first husband, obviously, and we were married. I was 22, he was 24. Unfortunately, that marriage did not survive. Now, in hindsight, I can honestly say that marriage could have been salvaged. Hard pill to swallow. But I also feel like I'm in a position where I feel like I am exactly where I need to be, and so is he. And so I feel like it was like divine intervention. God brought us together to create this family, to have these children. And unfortunately it didn't work, but it is not a regret. So it is not a regret that I got married and I had kids, because that was very important to me. So I can see that if you're in your 30s, 20s, 40s, and you haven't had a family, how that could be a desire for you. I get it. Now, approaching 60, that is not something, I've done it. I've been there. I've had my family, I've had my marriages, and this is just where I am today, and I accept it wholeheartedly. So that's something I wrote on here, that if you're in your 30s, 40s, 20s, I understand the need to want to be in a position where you can be in a traditional family. I also wrote here that what I've learned is that living alone was the most empowering, fulfilling, transformative experience of my life, which it was. I also wrote on here that I already talked about this, that being alone to me is not about being antisocial or self-isolation. It's about embracing yourself fully, living a life that is truly aligned with your values, your aspirations, freedom, and self-discovery, which is what happened to me after I decided to leave. Now, I know it's daunting, it's completely overwhelming to have to think about running a household by yourself, paying your own bills, being completely independent when you've been used to having somebody take care of a lot of those things for you. I know it's overwhelming. I know it's daunting. But like I said, there's pros and cons to everything. And I found that to me, the pros have been a lot more rewarding than having to figure out how to hook up my washer and dryer, or having to, fix that loose knob on my bathroom door. The pros have been more about me becoming the best version of myself, rather than being afraid to venture out and do things that I'm completely uncomfortable with. I had to trust my own judgment and become, I've talked about that. I had to trust my instincts and trust my own judgment and make my own decisions without relying on anyone else to guide me or to help me. And I've talked about this too. I feel like once you've lived on your own and you've paid your own bills and you've, fixed your own toilet, that once you're on your own that long and you realize that you can do it, it is very liberating, and it leaves you in a position to maybe in the future, if you so choose, to find a partner that aligns with your values. Find a partner where you have a lot more commonality, rather than just settling for or compromising with a partner that is just there because you're too afraid to be alone, and it's out of need and dependency on someone else, rather than really being with someone that enhances your life or brings value to your life. And so I know this is probably my third video in the last 2 weeks about this topic, but I still had people that really don't genuinely believe that you can be alone and be happy. And like I said, there was years where I was not alone, and oh my God, you guys, I would cry myself to sleep every night. I just felt so completely lonely. I remember I was at a point where I needed to take sleeping pills just to fall asleep. I remember feeling just worthless, helpless, hopeless, stuck, not empowered, didn't control any of the finances, just felt completely, it was hard. It was really, really hard. Police were at the house numerous times. There was no peace in my life. And now all I can say is that my peace is priceless. It is worth losing the multi-million-dollar house, the lake house, the vacation properties, all the luxury cars, and all the diamonds in the world. Where I am today is so much more authentic to my core than where I was when I had all the stuff. Anyway, I hope that helps. And this will be my last video on why I have been alone for the last 10 years and am completely in a place in my life where I'm most at peace than I ever have been. Okay, hope that helps you guys. And listen. Again, let me reiterate. Do not feel like this is where you need to be and this is the end all and be all. For me, personally, just want to give you my perspective. For me personally, it is being on my own is what has brought me a lot more self-esteem, confidence, and peace, rather than being in the wrong relationship. So if you're not in the wrong relationship and you have somebody that lifts you up and allows you to be who you are, and they help you become that best version of yourselves, and you're happy, then that's where you need to be. This is where I need to be. Go out there, you guys, and in whatever capacity it is, rebuild your kick-ass lives, because it's never too late to rebuild your kick-ass life. Okay, bye.